You are not losing weight in the fitting room. You are just trapped inside a trillion-dollar optical illusion. Think about the last time you stood inside a clothing store changing room. You pulled on that pair of jeans, looked into the mirror, and for a fleeting second, you felt incredible. Your waist looked remarkably lean, your shoulders appeared perfectly broad, and your skin possessed this healthy, sun-kissed glow. You felt an immediate rush of confidence, so you walked straight to the counter, swiped your credit card, and took the bag home. But 24 hours later, you put those exact same clothes on, stood in front of your own bathroom mirror, and your heart sank. The magic was gone. You suddenly saw every soft spot around your waist. The fabric clung to all the wrong places, and you felt completely deceived. You probably blamed yourself. You thought you bloated overnight, or maybe you just had a bad body day. But what if I told you that you are not losing your mind, and your body did not change in 24 hours? You were simply the target of a highly engineered psychological trap. Retail corporations spent decades perfecting a silent system designed to artificially inflate your self-esteem for exactly 90 seconds, just long enough to get you to part with your hard-earned money. In this conversation, we are going to tear down the walls of that fitting room. We'll unpack the hidden science of how these spaces are architected, moving from the simple trickery of angles through the biological hacking of your eyes, all the way to the deepest, most unsettling reason of all: how these brands exploit your evolutionary need for validation to manipulate your bank account. And stick with me until the very end, because once we unmask how this system works, I'm going to give you 3 specific, invisible tools you can use to hack the matrix next time you shop. You'll learn exactly how to apply this defensive mindset to protect your money and business, save yourself from manipulation in your daily life, and finally, reclaim control over your own self-worth. Let's start with the most basic physical illusion you encounter the moment you step inside. This is the first layer of the trap. Have you ever noticed that fitting room mirrors are almost never mounted completely flat against the wall? If you were to run your hand along the top edge of a retail mirror, you would find a small, deliberate gap. The top of the mirror is tilted forward, leaning toward you at an angle of exactly 3 to 5 degrees. Now, 3 degrees sounds completely negligible, but in the world of spatial geometry, it changes everything. When a mirror tilts forward, it forces a phenomenon known in psychology as perspective distortion. Because the top of the glass is closer to your eyes than the bottom, a visual gradient is created. Your head, neck, and shoulders are physically closer to the mirror, making them appear slightly larger and more dominant. Conversely, your waist, hips, and legs are pushed further away into the distance. According to the laws of visual perspective, objects that are farther away appear smaller. By tilting the mirror just 3 degrees, the retail store has effectively shrunk the lower half of your body, creating an instant artificial hourglass or V-shaped silhouette. It's an analog, physical version of an Instagram filter built right into the architecture of the room. You're standing there thinking you look exceptionally fit, but you're actually looking at a calculated mathematical distortion. But the physical tilt is only part of the equation. That brings us to our second layer, which moves from simple geometry into the territory of biological hacking. Let's talk about the lights. When you look at yourself in your bathroom at home, the lighting is usually harsh, clinical, and positioned directly overhead. Overhead lighting is the enemy of vanity. It casts sharp downward shadows under your eyes, exaggerates the hollows of your cheeks, and throws a dark shadow right beneath your ribs, emphasizing every natural fold of skin or pocket of fat. Retail designers know this, so they completely eliminate overhead shadows using a technique called the Hollywood glow. When you step into a high-end fitting room, you'll rarely see a bare bulb on the ceiling. Instead, the lights are hidden vertically behind the edges of the mirror, or angled precisely at 45 degrees from the sides. More importantly, they never use standard white bulbs. They use a specific warm, soft pink spectrum. This choice of light triggers a psychological concept known as sensory adaptation. The warm pink light mimics the exact tones of a sunset, which automatically makes your skin look radiant, vibrant, and healthy, as if you just stepped off a beach vacation. But the real magic happens in the shadows. Because the light hits you from the sides rather than from above, it completely flushes out all dimensional contrast on your skin. It fills in the shadows under your eyes, smooths over cellulite, and flattens out any perceived softness around your midsection. The light essentially acts as a real-time physical Photoshop tool, airbrushing your body using physics alone. Now, you might think this is just clever marketing, but as we dig deeper into the third layer of the funnel, we leave the physical world behind and enter the domain of true behavioral psychology. Why do brands go to extreme lengths just to make you look good for 2 minutes? The answer lies in a powerful psychological trigger called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the intense mental discomfort you feel when you hold two conflicting beliefs at the same time. For most of us, our relationship with our bodies is complicated. We carry deep-seated insecurities fed by media and societal expectations. When we walk down the street, we might feel self-conscious about our weight, our age, or our style. That's belief number 1. I am imperfect. But the moment you walk into that fitting room and put on that specific dress or jacket, the mirror presents you with a completely contradictory reality. Suddenly, you look flawless. The insecurities vanish. This creates an immediate, overwhelming urge to resolve the dissonance. Your brain desperately wants to believe that the beautiful reflection in front of you is the permanent truth, not the flawed version you felt on the street. And how do you lock that beautiful reflection into reality? You buy the clothes. The act of purchasing the item becomes an emotional anchor. Your brain convinces you that if you own the garment, you own the feeling of perfection that came with it. The retail store has successfully commercialized your self-doubt and sold you back your own confidence at a premium price. And that leads us to the fourth and deepest layer of this trap, the ultimate reason why this system is completely escapable for the untrained mind. It operates on a neurological level through the weaponization of dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. It's the neurotransmitter that floods your brain whenever you expect a reward. When you stand in that perfectly lit, tilted room looking at an enhanced version of yourself, your brain experiences a massive dopamine spike. You feel an immediate high of validation. You think, I look incredible in this. But here's the catch. Dopamine is incredibly short-lived. The moment you leave the store, the high begins to fade. By the time you get home and put the clothes on under your normal, unengineered household lights, the illusion shatters. The dopamine tank is empty, and you are hit with buyer's remorse. You look at the clothes, you look at your regular mirror, and you feel a sense of failure. But here is the twisted genius of the retail loop. You don't get mad at the store, you get mad at yourself. You think you just lost your edge, or that you need to shop somewhere better. So what do you do to chase that missing feeling of validation? You go back to the mall. You step into another matrix, look into another tilted mirror, and search for your next hit of dopamine. It is a continuous, self-perpetuating cycle of consumption driven by a mirage. So let us connect all the pieces of the puzzle. If you have ever felt defeated, cheated, or insecure after a day of clothes shopping, I want you to take a deep breath and realize something very important. It was never your fault. Your body was never the problem. You were simply navigating a highly sophisticated, multi-layered machine. Your mind was being systematically guided through a funnel that used 3-degree physical tilting to reshape your silhouette, warm pink lighting to erase your natural shadows, cognitive dissonance to exploit your deepest insecurities, and an engineered dopamine loop to force your hand toward your wallet. You weren't just buying a piece of fabric. You were paying a tax to a system that temporarily cured a vulnerability it created itself. But now that you know exactly how the machine is built, it completely loses its power over you. You are no longer a passive target. You are now equipped to dismantle the illusion. To break free from this matrix, we need to transform this awareness into a shield, and we can do this by applying this exact defensive mindset to 3 critical areas of your life: your personal habits, your professional career, and your business strategy. In your personal life, the next time you step into a fitting room, you must bring your own reality check. I call this the phone camera test. The lens on your smartphone, when zoomed slightly without any beauty filters, is a flat piece of glass. It does not care about a 3-degree tilt, and it does not adapt to soft pink lighting the way your human eyes do. When you are trying on an item and you feel that sudden, overwhelming rush of dopamine, do not trust the glass in front of you. Raise your phone, look directly into your phone's screen, and take a photo or a quick video. Step away from the mirror, walk out into the neutral, harsh light of the main hallway where the lighting is regular, and look at that photo. By forcing your brain to see your reflection through a neutral, flat lens in regular light, you instantly short-circuit the optical illusion. You strip away the emotional manipulation, and you finally see the clothing for what it actually is. You reclaim your autonomy, and you ensure that every dollar you spend is based on reality, not a manufactured high. In your professional career, you can apply this exact same understanding of presentation and environment to navigate corporate dynamics. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone in your office who isn't necessarily the hardest worker, yet they always seem to get the promotions, the praise, and the attention? They're essentially running the fitting room effect on a corporate scale. They tilt their narrative. They don't just present raw data, they angle their achievements to highlight their strengths while keeping their structural flaws in the background. They use professional lighting, meaning they control the timing, the tone, and the environment in which they deliver information to management, ensuring they are always perceived in the best possible light. If you want to protect your career from being overshadowed by these corporate illusions, you must learn to read through the tilt. When evaluating colleagues or competitors, look past the initial aesthetic gloss of their presentations. Force yourself to look at the flat data, the raw numbers, and the objective results in neutral light. Don't let yourself be blinded by someone else's carefully constructed professional mirror. In the world of business and entrepreneurship, understanding the psychology is the difference between struggling for sales and creating an unforgettable brand experience. Now, let me be completely clear. I'm not telling you to deceive your clients. True business longevity is built on absolute trust. But what the fitting room teaches us is the undeniable value of experiential design. If you're selling a product, an online service, or even an idea, you cannot simply throw it at your customer in a cold, clinical, uninviting environment and expect them to fall in love with it. You have to design an ecosystem that makes your customer feel capable, confident, and understood the moment they interact with you. If your website is confusing, if your onboarding process is stressful, or if your customer service feels distant, you are placing them under a harsh, unforgiving light that amplifies their anxieties. You must smooth out the friction. Design your client journey so that every touchpoint reduces their cognitive dissonance, validates their choices, and highlights their potential. When you focus on making your customer feel like the best version of themselves through clear communication, seamless design, and genuine value, they will naturally want to invest in your business. At the end of the day, everything we've discussed comes down to a single fundamental truth. The world around you is constantly trying to shape your perception of reality to serve its own metrics. Whether it's a clothing store tilting a mirror to steal your confidence, a corporate environment angling data to control an outcome, or a marketplace competing for your attention, the matrix relies entirely on your lack of awareness. But the moment you learn to pause, step back, and question the environment you're standing in, the illusion dissolves. You stop being a victim of the design, and you become the designer of your own choices. I want to hear from you directly on this. Think back to your own life. Can you remember a specific time where you bought an item that looked absolutely flawless in the store, only to realize it was a complete disaster the moment you got home? How did you feel in that moment? And knowing what you know now, how do you see that memory differently? Let me know your story down in the comments below. Let's start a conversation and expose these traps together. And if this deep dive gave you a completely new perspective on the invisible forces shaping your daily decisions, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're building a community of independent minds who refuse to be passive consumers of reality. Thank you for listening. Keep your eyes wide open, and I'll talk to you in the next one.